the fact that I was able to blow my own mind with my own history, and I was a grown adult, I put the two together, the mission of wanting to affect the lives of young people and seeing how important it was to uncover my ancestors. What if I could make that a possibility for young people? What if young people could discover their ancestors as well and learn that they also have a rich history, people to be proud of, people to be celebrated, and people who have otherwise been forgotten? So as a service to the ancestors as well as a service to the young people, I decided to create Ancestors Unknown, as a program to give them an opportunity to find their ancestors. The length of the story goes from New York, and then I moved to the Netherlands. I started doing lots of research to find out how I could, create this organization, or what's the research behind the need for this type of education. So that took some years to actually develop and figure out how to do it. But long story short, it was born out of this inspiration from my own research. So my name is Dana Saxon, and I was originally born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now I'm living here in The Hague in the Netherlands. So mainly I'm working on starting my own business, which is called Ancestors Unknown. It's actually a nonprofit organization based in the US, but I'm working with schools in the US as well as here in the Netherlands to teach young people about untold histories and about genealogy research so they can learn about where they come from, their histories. And this is a way to make global connections between the Netherlands and the US, and also provide opportunities for greater education. So the idea was born, and then fast forward, I moved to the Netherlands. I guess it's not so much of a fast forward. I knew that I wanted to start this program, and I knew family history mattered. And at the time, I was already deciding to leave the country. And I knew pretty clearly that I wanted to move to Amsterdam. So I was looking at school programs because I was informed, and it was very good advice, that school is a good way to enter a new country for visa reasons and for funding reasons, all of these things. So I was looking for school programs, and the school program that popped out to me was a sociology master's at the University of Amsterdam. And they had a concentration in migration and ethnic studies. So at the time I was thinking, okay, family history is really what I want to focus on. How can I make migration and ethnic studies relevant to family history? So what I zoned in on is the importance of family history for people who have histories of migration, and for that reason feel disconnected from their family's past. So this could be really related to anyone in the African diaspora. So in the United States, the idea of migration, is a forced migration generations ago, and you're disconnected from your ancestors, not just because of that migration, but because of slavery and Jim Crow and all of these things that have made us feel disconnected from Africa and African ancestors and so on. But could this be a phenomenon that's happening in other parts of the diaspora? Could Black folks in the Netherlands be having a similar experience because of their migrations to the Netherlands, but also because of their histories of slavery and so on? So I spun that. It was a little bit it was a little bit creative, but I spun that in my proposal for my program, and they bought it. So I ended up focusing on that for more than a year of doing research here in the Netherlands, but focusing on the Black population here, which was mainly a group of people from Suriname and the Antilles. So former Dutch colonies, people who have histories of slavery that's very similar to American history of slavery, but they have an extra component in that they have at least 20 years ago or so, migrating from the former colony to the Netherlands, right? So in the 70s and 80s, lots of black folks moved here. They're living here in the Netherlands around lots of Dutch people. They're in the minority. They're disconnected from Suriname. And then in Suriname, they're disconnected from the continent, right? From Africa. So it's like a dual challenge of identity, of disconnect. So that ended up being the focus of my research. And then that took me along a path of working with a really generous group of people in Amsterdam that were looking for their ancestors. We did a lot of deep dives in the archives and we're working on their family trees. And so that was really an education for me because I didn't realize that folks from Suriname and the Antilles had such a similar experience to me. And I was glad that they did because it helped my research and it was sort of validating what I was expecting to be true, that similar to us in the US, they want to know where they come from and they can't find enough information to satisfy them, or at least they think they can't find that information. And so they were able to, similar to me, find lots of information. People built their family trees. They were really proud and rewarded by that. But I wanted to take it a little bit further, and to complete my research, to complete my thesis, I actually spent some months in Suriname. And then I realized Suriname has, tons of archives, young people who are hungry for information about their ancestors. Long story short, I ended up spending a year in Suriname. My research grew into a whole project with Surinamese youth. And that is where Ancestors Unknown was born. So it went from the research to seeing the connection between, yes, family history matters. Yes, I want to apply this to young people. And yes, I have a group of young people in Suriname who are willing to experiment with me. So it wasn't necessarily a formal curriculum at that time, but I pulled in a number of local historians and researchers who were willing to volunteer some time and sit down with young people. Every time I leave a school and I've had a conversation with students or I've had a conversation with the teacher, I want to cry because this is a very empowering and it's just an incredible experience. Unexpected, that's the word I was looking for. It's empowering and unexpected that I could do this, that I could come to another country, and also in the schools in the US, when I go to those schools, like when I can come kind of from out of nowhere and do something that really no one is doing in this way, and challenge the status quo, that we don't have to teach history in the same way, that there are other ways to bring other stories into the classroom. The fact that this is being validated, it's super inspiring. And yeah, it's emotional. And it makes me want to keep going because of the days that I am focused on the freelance work when I just need to pay my bills and the grant money is not enough, When it does get scary, when I'm looking at my grocery bill and thinking, oh shoot, like maybe it's just going to be beans and rice this week. But when I am eating the beans and rice, and I'm looking at, I have a wall of my ancestors' photos. When I'm looking at them, and I'm doing, I'm suffering, maybe economically, I'm thinking about those tears that I'm shedding outside those schools, or I'm thinking about those young people that I'm hopefully positively influencing. That makes it all worth it, and it makes the drive and the hard work just necessary. It's kind of like the necessary evil to do the right work. And I just feel really lucky to be able to do this, There were certain elements where I did hold on to what I had already done. Like, for example, all of my books and even some of my furniture, like I was moving from the US. So like I was not ready to just get rid of everything. Partially because I had done that before. First I moved from Philadelphia to Oakland, and then I moved from Oakland to New York, to Brooklyn, and then Brooklyn to Amsterdam. And with every move, I was selling everything and starting over, except my books and my art. So when I moved here, I was like, I can't do that again. It just felt so exhausting. So I did come with some of my stuff, and that felt a little bit nice, actually, to have some taste of I won't say home, but me. Like I felt like I was maintaining some of my identity, you know, when I came here. I had my art. I was surrounded by stuff that felt like Dana, you know. My cat also moved with me. So I had my cat and some of my stuff, and otherwise totally unfamiliar, very uncomfortable, not speaking the language. Obviously people here in the Netherlands are very English friendly, but generally when you're surrounded by people on a daily basis and you're not hearing your own language, going back to school was unfamiliar. What is sociology? What is going on? Like, what am I doing? So it all felt very, it was just a feeling of discomfort and also making new friends and finding out where do I eat, where's the grocery store. All of those things were challenges, but it was, you know, an adventure at the same time. It's still a challenge. I mean, making friends in general is hard. I was never good at it as a kid. Oh my God. But like, you know, I was always the awkward kid sitting alone at the lunch table. So as an adult, it's even harder making friends because people have their social circles already very well established when you're grown. And then coming to a new country and not knowing anything, you know, like who, even like, because people all have cliques, you know, like who's cool and who, you know, like who am I allowed to talk to, and or if am I offending you if I talk to you or whatever. So all of those politics are present. So it was just, yeah, it was challenging. So the first thing I did was relied on my school network. So that was an easy way in. But frankly, University of Amsterdam is all white. And my program, as I said, I was the oldest one in my program. These were really dope classmates who were coming from all over Europe, and I was the only American in my program, but you know, it was a really international program. So I was fascinated by my classmates, and I'm still friends with a number of them today. But honestly, that social circle was not those weren't my people, you know? So I had to go a little bit further to find my people. Part of my therapy through that was blogging. I started my blog a year before I moved, just to kind of get my journey, you know, documented. And then I was also writing when I first moved, like, you know, kind of sharing the story, but also working it out in my own mind. This is what's working, and this is what's not working, and this is where I'm feeling confused, and this is where I feel like I need to, where I need help or support, you know, or just even getting people from the U.S., like my friends from home, encouraging me, like that was all part of the process. Just feeling like I wasn't just on my own, you know. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the struggle because of them and because of the young people that will continue the ancestors' legacies. And when I say the ancestors, I don't just mean my own ancestors. I mean all of our ancestors. Their stories need to be told. And the fact that I can be telling their stories through the next generation and hopefully inspiring the next generation to continue telling the stories to the next generation after them, you know, it just feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing.